Hello, everybody. Welcome to my second video log for Teacher Leadership Specialist course. Today, I'm talking about something that really resonated with me during Module 2. And that would be in the third section where we learned about student learning and the article about teaching versus learning, and that the goal and the purpose of education is not teaching, but learning. This is a concept that I've really resonated with and learned more about over my teaching career. And exploring this further through the videos and the articles really hit this home with me that, really we shouldn't even be calling ourselves teachers anymore. We should be seeing ourselves more as facilitators or learning guides or something like that, some new innovative way of defining what we do as teachers, because if we see ourselves merely as lecturers or people that deliver instruction, we're really missing out on the key of education, the whole purpose, which is student learning. And even when we are working towards student achievement and assessing achievement, really that is all boiled back down to what have they learned and what have they retained? What are they able to do now? How can they think now in ways that they weren't able to before a certain unit? Or whatever. So I think of my own children. I have a 3-year-old son and a 5-year-old daughter. And I think about when they learned to walk or learn to talk. That was not because of, explicit instruction. They didn't go to learn how to walk class. They just they perceived it in their environment. They saw it modeled to them, and through determination and trying and failing and trying again, they learned how to walk. But then I look at something else, like let's say swimming. My kids are excelling right now at swimming, but that's because I have been putting them in swimming lessons where they have received instruction. So I think that on their own, they could have maybe learned how to stay above water and not drown. And, they could have learned how to not sink. But learning how to truly swim required some instruction and coaching. So even though, but the difference there that I see in that from maybe my students when learning math is that both of my kids really want to know how to swim and they want to learn that. So there is a desire there. So I was thinking about this more that I really liked in the article about how as teachers, maybe we are learning the best because we have to learn something so well that we need to be able to explain it. So I thought what we really need to address with our students then is their commitment to learning, their desire to learn. I think that all children are born with this. They want to learn, and somewhere in our education system, they lose that desire, or for some of them, they get torn down, or they think that their abilities they don't match up to others, so they lose that desire to learn. So I think as educators, we should address this commitment to learning and then structure our classes in such a way that this commitment is rewarded, as opposed to just regurgitating what's being taught. So this also ties into, I think, the concept of grit. So if you're familiar with the psychologist Angela Duckworth, she has an amazing book called Grit, and it talks about how success in all areas through her studies, not just school, is seen through grit, not talent, not good looks, not IQ, but grit, that ability to stick with something. So I think that if we create environments where we ignite that natural desire to learn in our students, but coupled with really fortifying that grit, then they will have that desire to achieve and they will be ripe and ready to learn. So some way that I've really seen a huge shift in my students and my view from teaching to learning is through my flipped classroom that I use with my math students. So in the flipped classroom, they watch videos. So I am still teaching and instructing through the videos. They complete a note. but then they come to class and do their homework in class. So number one, I truly believe that more students are doing more questions than they ever would have when I just assign it for them to work at home, because they all kind of have to do it in class. But what is most important is that they are really grasping the concept that doing the math is when the learning actually happens, as opposed to watching the lecture is when the learning happens. I think by putting the quote unquote homework in a classroom setting validates it as being more important to the learning process than it is just watching me teach and taking a note. That note is really just to get them the basic concepts. The actual learning happens when they're doing those questions and figuring out what do they already know, what do they not know. And then the real magic happens, as suggested in the article, is when they're working together and teaching each other. And it's not just the typical smart kids teaching the other kids. They all have found areas of strength, and they all work off of each other because they're all in one class together. It's not just friends studying with friends. It's the entire classroom working together. And I also actually include assignments where they do need to teach each other, or, in review, I have them take sections, and I notice that the learning is so much stronger there. So to summarize, I think as teacher leaders, being a pedagogical leader, it is so important that we embrace the concept that learning is the purpose of education and not teaching. So when we look at a unit, or maybe we're coaching new teachers, when they're looking at their course, don't think about how can I best teach this to students. Think, how can my students best learn this material? And it totally kind of flips how you think about it and how you address the material. So I hope you guys enjoyed my video log today, and I would welcome any feedback, and I would love to have conversation with you about this. Have a great day.